To date, Republican congressional candidate Frank Guinta has put $355,000 of his own money into his campaign. There's no limit on how much a candidate can self finance their bid for office. The thing is, it must be their money. In June 2009, Guinta loaned his campaign $20,000. In March 2010, he loaned himself $100,000, and in June, another $125,000. That last loan caught the attention of Telegraph reporter Kevin Landrigan, who raised the question in his column in the July 11th Sunday edition. 12 days later, Guinta submits an amended financial disclosure statement to the U.S. House of Representatives. There is one major change from the form he had submitted in May. He adds an account at the Bank of America worth between $250,000 and $500,000. Many people asked Guinta where the money came from. We did too. In mid-August, he said he earned it.
Prior to my service in public life, I've been in real estate development. I've been in insurance consulting, where I've been fortunate enough to make some money, and I've been in the workforce for 20 years.
Guinta also told the union leaders Drew Klein that he began putting money away in the mid-90s. To some extent, we can see whether that explanation is plausible. In 2001, after a couple of years as a student at Franklin Pierce Law Center, Guinta is elected as an alderman in Manchester. Manchester requires elected officials file disclosure forms, and so we have the chance to track Guinta's real estate activities. In 2001, Guinta buys 2 properties. We'll take them in order. Through papers at the Hillsborough County Courthouse, we can follow what happens to each. We'll start with 139-1 West Merrimack. In 2004, Guinta sells 139-1 West Merrimack. The sale provides a gain of about $78,500, assuming a very low commission for the real estate agency of 5% and no other transaction fees, which there would have been. Most of that money goes into the next property he buys, 172 Uville Street, a house with 3 apartments. So after buying 172 Uville Street, there's about $9,500 left over. Now, let's look at the other property Guinta and his wife purchased in 2001, 96 Hollis Street. Guinta sells this in May of 2006, and he makes $115,000. But the month before, Guinta and his wife bought a large home at 221 Crestview. He borrowed the down payment of $82,000 to carry him for 1 month until he sold the Hollis Street property. After all of these real estate deals, Guinta might have added $42,600 to his bank account. The last part of Guinta's real estate investments is the rent he might have received from 172 Uville Street. This is not a high-rent neighborhood. Based on real estate listings, each apartment might rent for $1,000 a month. Looking at the water bills, there seem to have been vacancies. After accounting for that, mortgage payments, and property taxes over a 5-year period, there might be a gain of $52,000. So the grand total from Guinta's real estate business is in the neighborhood of $95,000. $95,000 is a fair bit of money, but it is far short of the $250,000 that Guinta says is in the account he disclosed in July 2010. The one other area Guinta mentioned as the source of this money is his insurance work. There's no public record of the money he might have earned. The average claims manager today makes $40,000 a year. Cap and Vad investigates workers' compensation cases on behalf of insurance companies. Guinta worked there for 2 years or less. The average salary today in that field is $45,000. Looking at Guinta's earnings since 2003, we find he has enjoyed respectable but not high salaries. $60,000 working for Representative Jeb Bradley, $72,000 as mayor of Manchester. It is difficult to see how this work history would translate into the savings Guinta says he accumulated. If his real estate investments produced $95,000, and we add up all the accounts in his disclosure statement, then everything else he has done would have needed to produce $275,000 free and clear. At the end of the day, Guinta's explanation that this account stems from his work in real estate and insurance seems a distant possibility, but not at all likely. Guinta's wife has worked for several years. That would certainly help. Perhaps more importantly, Guinta's parents sold a second home in New Jersey for $820,000 in 2008. Some Republicans think they are the source of this money. Lastly, when Guinta corrected his financial disclosure statement, he didn't just add the new account. He changed the period covered by the disclosure. He added 4 months, which raises the possibility that the account was opened during that time. Guinta has been asked repeatedly to produce a bank statement showing that the account existed a year ago. So far, he has refused to produce one, which leaves the question open: what is the source of Guinta's money?